Our politically incorrect segment tonight. The New York Times published an article yesterday that will truly take your breath away. It's remarkable and it's shocking how far the New York Times has fallen that they will, in the same month, condemn an investigative journalist to hell, like they did with James O'Keefe after O'Keefe's undercover piece was unflattering to the Gray Lady, and then this week publish an article titled, "Can My Black Children Be Friends with White People?" The premise of the article is no. The author of the piece contends, and I quote here, "Spare me the platitudes of how we are all the same on the inside. I will teach my boys to have profound doubts that friendship with white people is possible." With me now, host of the Wayne Dupree Show, Wayne Dupree. Wayne, good to see you.
Nice to be back with you. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. Wayne, let me ask you, the premise of this article, let's just start with the title to start at the very top. Can black children be friends with white people?
Yeah. Let me give you an old saying that we used to say in the South: "Is fat meat greasy?" Yes, white kids can be friends with black kids. I grew up with so many white friends. As a matter of fact, my best friend, when I was like 7 or 8 years old, my best friend was another Caucasian kid who I cried when he left. I mean, that's how close we were. We spent so much time together playing, and we were in school together, or I used to go over to his house and he used to come over to my house, and then he had to move away with his family. I cried for days. I mean, but I didn't see him as a white kid. I saw him as a friend. And Martin Luther King said a long time ago, and I came across this passage a couple of weeks ago, that his dream was that sons of slaves and sons of former slave owners can sit down at the table of brotherhood. That was his dream. Now, when you look at what the New York Times is doing, and when you look at what these liberals are doing with always calling out racism and separation and stuff, but then they claim, but Martin Luther King is ours and we love Martin Luther King. You don't know a damn thing about Martin Luther King. You don't know what he was all about in bringing everybody together. So the person who wrote this article, they don't have a dinghy.
No. I mean, these quotes get even worse. Let me read one of these. This is from the article. He says, "Donald Trump's election has made it clear that I will teach my boys the lesson generations old, one that I, for the most part, nearly escaped. I will teach them to be cautious. I will teach them suspicion, and I will teach them distrust. Much sooner than I thought I would, I will have to discuss with my boys whether they can truly be friends with white people." And he goes on later to say, "I will teach my boys to have profound doubts that friendship with white people is possible." And then he builds up to the very end of the article by saying, "My heart is unbelievably heavy when I assure you that we cannot be friends." Wayne, this cannot be anything other than abject racism, yet I don't hear any outcry from people on the left saying this is the most egregious article. Imagine if this were in reverse and it was a question asking if white children could be friends with black children.
Believe me, if this was in reverse, that author would not be at the New York Times anymore. Okay. But we live in the culture of, there's a whole lot of white liberals that are afraid of blacks. They're afraid to be called racist. They're afraid to be called out on different things. And right now, when they look at their past, I'm sorry that my great grandfather was a slave owner, stuff, not having anything to do with it. I mean, listen, these people are gone and dead. These racist slave owners are dead. All of this stuff that happened a long time ago, we didn't have nothing to do with. So, I'm tired of watching or this person having the platform to spew that racism in a sort of large newspaper, even though, they're losing a whole lot of subscribers on a regular basis.
Right. Don't pass up the chance to get that little jab in at the New York Times while we're at it right here. No, but this is what it comes down to. I read this article start to finish. It's actually written very well. The premise and the logic and the arguments are just terrible because he's talking about racial divide. And I don't think there's a single person in our country, regardless of their color, who is going to deny that there is somewhat of a racial divide in our nation, especially in certain areas, especially regarding certain issues here. But he's essentially positing that the solution to this problem, the solution to the racial divide, is to teach the next generation of Americans, his sons, who are small children, that all white people are white supremacists. That's only going to exacerbate the problem.
He is creating races. It's the same thing that happened in a barber shop a couple of months ago. I had an argument with somebody who was standing there telling me that he goes around in his business telling young people don't vote no more. And he was telling young black kids don't vote because it's not beneficial to them and they can never change the system. I'm like, what are you telling them that for? If you remove them from that, then they'll never have a voice. And then I gave him examples of Eric Cantor, Donald Trump, and everything like that. And they're like, well, those things are just, those things just happen, but the system is just against us. I was like, well, if you stop voting, then that's what your mindset is going to be. But this person in this article that you just read just a while ago doesn't know anything about Martin Luther King, doesn't know anything about bringing people together. This person is trying to separate, divide, and yes, you're right. There are pockets of division. But for the most part, I would say 85% of Americans today do not care about what color you are. As long people want jobs, people want money in their account, people want to be able to take a vacation when they want to, and people need and if people are sick, they want to be taken care of. That's it. They don't care what color you are.
No, and particularly not kids. If there's racial divide in this nation, it's the adults. We should be mimicking, we should be imitating and following the lead of children who, like you said, just want to be friends with other children, who base their friendships on character and personality, not the color of their skin. And shame on all the Democrats who constantly talk about racial issues, but didn't call this article out for the racism that it's peddling. Wayne, thanks for coming on the show. It was a pleasure talking to you.